God is so amazing because I thought this was where my life was about to end. And out of nowhere, you know, God sent my aunt, who I had no idea was in the house at all. She came and just grabbed me, threw me on her back, and we escaped into the jungle while my hut burst into flame.
Hello. Today we are joined by a guest who's been very patient today and waited a long time to come on. This is Jackson, and he's joining us from Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome.
Hey,
Thank you.
Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Jackson. Looking forward to hearing your story.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, thank you both. It's great to be here today. I love it.
Thank you. So tell us your story, how you want to tell it from the beginning, or how you found us, how you're getting here, the whole thing.
How I found you guys?
Yeah.
Well, I think my agent, my marketing team found you guys, but
Yeah.
they're incredible.
And you have a book, right? So
Yes, I
what's the
do.
name of your book? Start with that. We'll put that in the show.
Uh, the title of my book is "The Only Way Forward is Back."
Okay.
Um, this is a
Great.
story of war, adoption, and finding a purpose in God's plan.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's go back. You were born and take it from there.
Yeah, so I was born in a small village in Liberia, West Africa,
Mhm.
and I grew up to a very extremely poor family, and we were all farmers. We grew our own food and products in the village, and we didn't have technology. We were not aware of any kind of government or what was happening in the world. We were just in our own little world.
And
What
wh- and what year was this?
Oh, I don't know the exact year, but I remember I was about 7 years old.
What year were you born, I guess I'm asking.
Oh, I was born 1988.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so 1988. So we grew up that way, as just farmers, local people, minding our business. We value our traditions, our culture, and our people. And my father was a town chief, and my grandfather was a witch doctor as well in the village. So,
And this is you were all the way 7 living with your family with
yeah,
siblings, I'm guessing, and
yeah. So
okay.
I was about 7 years old, from the age of 0 until 7, living with my biological family at this time.
And do you have a lot of memories from that?
Oh yeah,
You do. Oh,
I do. I replay every memory in my head over and over and over and over just so I can remember where I
yeah.
came from when I was younger. Even when I came here to the States, I wrote down the names of my siblings and my family members on papers just so I don't forget.
Oh,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
so um, but yeah, so that's how my story started. And then one night, it was by midnight, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. I heard a very loud noise, a strange noise, and I had no idea what it was. It's my first time ever hearing this noise, and it was a sound of grenades and AK-47 being fired, and people were screaming and running for their lives. So, as a boy, just a little kid, I was automatically scared because I was in this hut we live in. We don't have a house because where I'm from, we don't have houses. I had no idea. I had no idea what a house looks like
Hmm.
until I came to a different part of the town. But we live in little small huts and things like that. But uh, I peeked out my window, and when I looked outside, I saw my neighbor's house or hut in flame and fire, and people screaming. So automatically, I got on the floor, on our dirt floor off my bamboo bed on the floor, and I was like looking around, see if anyone's in the house, but there was nobody in the house. And then within a few minutes, I heard this gurgling sound from above me. That was a sound, like the sound of like gasoline being poured on my roof.
Ugh.
Oh my goodness.
And so it lit up on fire. And I mean, God is so amazing because I thought this was where my life was about to end. And out of nowhere, you know, God sent my aunt, who I had no idea was in the house at all. She came and just grabbed me, threw me on her back, and we escaped into the jungle while my hut burst into flame. Literally, while bursting into flame, we escaped into the jungle. And what's even sad is like whenever we were on our way to the jungle running, my neighbor who I grew up with, he and I play together all the time, saw us running, and he also was running to come with us, and he got shot and
Oh,
killed right there, right next to me while we were both were running, you
oh
know.
no.
And I didn't have time to stop to just help him out because I mean like it was a couple shots and he just dropped, he was gone. And my aunt just grabbed me, dragged me into the jungle. I mean, I got scripts on my body still, my arm and legs, everything from that. So that's kind of how my story started off.
And what happened to your family?
So my family at that time, I had no idea what was happening.
Hmm.
I couldn't comprehend like where my mom was, my dad was, because how it works was my dad lived in a different village than my mom did. So me and my mom, my brother, and my stepdad, we all lived in this hut together. But that night, I don't know what happened. That was the last time I saw anybody in the household, and it was just me and my aunt who escaped.
Mm.
Gosh, Jackson.
And how long were you in the jungle, like hiding and trying to get away?
Yeah, great question. So even after we escaped into the jungle, man, these guys were chasing us like chasing animals. They're trying to hunt for a deer. We were in that jungle for several months.
Mm. Were you with other people? Like had you found other people or just the
Just, just,
two of
just,
you
just two,
surviving
just
in the
two of us.
jungle? This is
Two
Oh,
of us.
incredible.
Yeah, just me and my aunt. A young 20s, early or even younger young lady.
yeah.
She rescued me. She took me with her, and we live in this thick jungle where, I mean, we're being hunted like animals, and we were living like the animals. We were eating like the animals, drinking like the
Yeah.
animals,
Yeah.
and we made rules to where we can't talk above or whisper, and we can't even sneeze. And I trained myself not to sneeze or cough or even cry,
Mm.
at a very young age because the rebels, when these guys heard any noise of any kind, they'll come and look for what that was. And if you're human, they're gonna either recruit you
Or
to
kill you.
join their
Right,
group
to be
or
a
they'll kill
soldier,
you. Right.
child
So,
soldier. Oh
What,
man.
what a start.
Boy,
I'm
your
so
aunt, what an incredible
woman.
human
yeah.
for being able to do that
Hmm.
and just protect you. And so, how did you end up getting out?
Yeah, so after we were there for a while, we ran out of resources, I guess, whatever like the food or just tired of sleeping on the leaves and between the branches and whatnot. So she was like, "Let's go to your dad's village and see if he's still alive, and if he's there, then I'll give you to him. Then we'll stay with him." So we traveled through the jungle again, and then we got to my dad's village, and luckily my dad was there. He was still in his village, but the rebels has already occupied the village already. They're already there. So they've set up a base. They had a whole entire truck and army guys already hanging out there already. So they had a what's it called? A checkpoint, a checkpoint
Mm.
already. So if you go to the next village, they will stop you, search your vehicle, and see who you are. And if they like you, they let you go. If they don't like you, then they will recruit you or kill you, either or. So we got to my dad's village, and um, within I think couple hours or even a day, those guys just started to create a riot among themselves. So it turned out to where another truck showed up, and when the truck showed up, um, it was time for them to go ahead and get some more soldiers for their group. So they grabbed my dad and they grabbed my uncle and my other siblings, brothers, and then they threw them in the truck. And my dad, screaming, yeah, he told us like, run, everyone, run to the woods. So we
Hmm.
all just ran, me and my other sibling ran into the woods. And then from there, we all just scattered and we all scattered. And my brother went north, I went south, the other one went east. We all just disappeared from each other.
And
Uh,
your aunt had left after she dropped you?
She was with us still,
Oh,
but I don't know where she went because I went this way, she went that way, and eventually I ended up on my own, just as a boy, on my own, trying to navigate myself through the woods, just to take care of myself. And for several days, I walk the jungle and walk the woods, and then I'll come on a main road, which would be like a dirt road that leads from our village to like another village. I'll walk on there, and every time I heard the sound of a truck or anything, I would jump back into the bush and hide myself
mm,
until that truck goes by. Then I get back up and start running again. And I came up across like another village where I knew a little bit about, and there were people dead everywhere, just dead. I mean, like bodies scattered, like my gosh, everywhere, and the smell of the people, like it looks like they've been there for a couple of weeks, and it
mm,
stinks so bad. And I just hop between them, hoping that I don't get caught up with any rebels or I don't meet nobody at all. So and then eventually I went to another village where my uncle lived at, and he was also in hiding. And then I said, can you please take me in? Can I be with you right now? So
And did he take you in?
he said that he couldn't take me in because he also was searching for his family, and and he said that the best thing to do was to take me somewhere where I can find safety because he cannot take care of me. Um,
while he's
I-
looking in this situation. Yeah.
yeah, while he's looking and searching for his own kids and his wife and family, he can't really take care of me right now. And he suggested that the best thing he could do for me was to take me to an orphanage. And I had no idea what an orphanage was. This is my first time ever hearing about an orphanage. So, and I was like, what is an orphanage? He was like, this is where a bunch of kids go um, and hang out and spend time with the other kids. He didn't really explain it because he himself had no idea what it really was, but he just knew that a bunch of kids are going to this location and they had some safety there,
Mm,
a little bit of
mm.
safety.
So did he take you there or did he lead you the way there?
Yeah, he helped me. The little things I had. I mean, I didn't have much with me at all. Probably just a little plastic bag, a grocery plastic bag, a grocery bag of like a shirt or t-shirt, maybe, and the pens I had. That's all I owned really. And then I grabbed it in my hand, and he took me to the orphanage. And when I got there, I saw hundreds of children, like
Oh,
hundreds of children, like from, you know, newborn to, adult, like in the 20s, everyone just there, leaning against the wall as if they were waiting for the term to die, because the starvation rate was off the charts. It was off the roof.
wow.
Um,
And
and
how long into this rebellion was it now?
I mean, it was pretty deep in there now, like a couple years. I'm not a couple years, but like I think almost a year into that,
Mm,
was going on. So I don't know the exact date, but I just knew that something was not right for kids growing up in a situation like mine. It was not. It was,
Hmm.
and I couldn't make sense of it at that time.
right.
So
It's almost
So
scarier to go there than to be on your own. I mean, that's terrifying.
right.
so then how long were you there and what happened from there?
So I was in there for several weeks at that orphanage, and while we were at an orphanage, luckily they had corn meals. I'm not sure if you know what corn meals are. The corn,
Mm-hmm.
the corn
Mm-hmm.
meals. That's
Mm-hmm.
what we ate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's all we had available to us. Corn meals, and then we had bags of wheat. So we ate wheat. So the wheat and corn meal was all that was available to us, and sometimes warm water. That's all we had
Mm,
for a meal. So, but one day I remember we were in a classroom and we were learning our ABCs and whatnot, just to pass time, just to change our mental, like our psyche from what's happening. And then we heard like a firing gunfire from a distance, like, "Bah," just going off. And before you knew it, it got closer to our orphanage. It got closer and closer and closer. And within a few minutes, these guys are storming the compound where we live at. They're everywhere, shooting up walls. I mean, I almost got hit with a bullet, so I had to one ran past me and I dropped on the floor. So, but these guys were in there again to take any food we had. They were there to recruit for their rebels group. And what's even sad is that um I just watched him like raped the young girls,
Mm.
just grabbing my brother, like my sisters, my mission sisters, and just grabbing them, dragging them across the yard and molesting them, and that broke my heart. And I just started crying and screaming. I said, God, where are you? Help us,
Mm.
you
Wow.
know. And it was tough for all of us in the home at that time. It was hard to watch for sure.
Oh my God, I can imagine. Yeah.
Mm.
Oh,
What?
gosh. So
Yeah.
how did you how long were you there and what was the course of your life from that? You're in Nashville. How did
Yeah,
this come to
so
be?
so that was the first orphanage I went to. I lived in five different orphanages,
Mm.
Oh, that
five different
can.
ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was the first one, and after that, the war, not war, but those guys left the compound and went, by their business, and then immediately the staff gathered all of us and loaded us into a little small van with all the little belonging we had, and went to another city that was closer to the capital. And when we got there, and that area, I mean, it was just like I mean, looking back now. It's disgusting, like
Mm-hmm.
unsanitary, very like a lot of algae everywhere, the wall, the ground, in the rooms, like rats and mosquitoes. I mean, insects. I mean, you name it.
Everything.
It was those were our neighbors who lived with basically,
Yeah.
and but we didn't care. We didn't see it. We didn't see it as that. All we're thinking about was survival, you know.
Right.
And we got there again, and then another war started again, and then we fled from there and went to another orphanage outside the city, and then we got there.
Like
Uh,
near Monrovia?
Near Monrovia.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it went outside Monrovia, and another one happened again, and it came back to another side of the country. So we're just literally running for our lives, left and right, left and right. And my life changed when I went to the fourth orphanage where it was in Monrovia, and the guy named Pastor Kofi ran another orphanage on the other side of town, and he sent a bus to grab some of the other kids from this orphanage I was at, because the orphanage I was at was overflowing with children. There was
Okay.
abundance of children who had no families. So
Mm.
he sent a bus to grab some of the kids from that orphanage so they can be, at least balanced a little bit. And I was one of the children who was picked up from that location to his location. And his location, his orphanage was a little structured, and we live in a fenced. It was fenced in a little bit. We had some safety, we had some food, and we were able to go to have devotions in the morning and devotions at night.
Mm-hmm.
And God made it possible for me to join an African boys choir while in this orphanage. And it's a choir that me and my friends created to pass time and to use that as a form of worship and thanksgiving to God for how He saved our lives and what He's doing in our lives right now and to protect
Mm-hmm.
us. So, and not to dwell so much on what's happening or the past, but to look at a person and be grateful for what He's doing for us.
How
How old
old?
were you at this point?
10, 11, 12, around that range.
Wow.
Mm.
You've been doing
Mhm.
this a long time.
A long time.
So what happens from there? What happened?
So we formed the boys choir, and that choir began to travel in the country because the war has ceased down a little
Mm-hmm.
bit where we can move about by
Mm-hmm.
that time. So we were able to go out into the city a little bit to other churches and sing and share our testimony at other local churches with the
Mm-hmm.
boys choir. And we grew a reputation eventually with the community that these orphan boys, are doing missing things in the community, singing and sharing their story of what happened in the war. And some missionaries came from America, And these missionaries heard us perform and heard our stories, and they told Pastor Kobe, they're like, hey, this would be a great idea to bring these boys to America to be the ones to share the testimony of what's happening in this country. Even share their personal testimony as well to raise awareness and sponsorships for uh, the orphanage. And fast forward, that orphanage, I mean, that choir eventually traveled to America in the year 2002.
Oh, what that must have been overwhelming. Like
Oh my gosh,
I
overwhelming and
can't even imagine.
exciting,
Yeah.
scary, but happy at the same time. And I was extremely happy that that was happening because I always dreamed about being adopted, and I
Hmm.
dreamed about having a family, and I dreamed about where I can be one day having safety. I don't have to worry about
Yeah, of
shot
course.
or kill or being chased down and not having enough food on my plate. I stress about that so much in my lifetime.
Yeah. The
That's a young.
choir that you developed with your friends
Mm-hmm.
took you.
Yep.
Oh
We
my
had a clap
goodness.
for us here.
So then how did you come to be adopted? And you must have been what, 10, 11, somewhere around
So
there?
by that time, so from the time that the missionaries came and the time came to America, I was about 15 years old already.
Mm.
I was 15. And so we were touring all throughout the South and all through America, actually, to different churches and different organizations. I mean, if you want us to come to your golf course and sing for you at your breakfast, we will be there. If you want us to come to any of your youth group meetings, we will be there. Anything we can do to share our story, our testimony, to get anyone to hear us and to help my brothers and sisters back home, we were there. Sacrificed and made that happen. And one day, this lady named Lisa and her daughters decided to come to one of our concerts because she's now my sister, Ashley, and she was a Girl Scout, and they were doing a project on she was doing a project on Liberia of all countries in the world. She chose Liberia, right? And I was like, wow, she chose Liberia. This girl have no idea what Liberia is, but she chose Liberia, But it came to our concert to hear her sing. And this was one of the moments that God really orchestrated for us. And this night was when my best friend Mark and I, who now became brothers, met my mom Lisa TerKeurst and my sisters, my siblings, and we just meshed with them really well, had a good conversation with them, and we just blended like a family and we played with the girls like they were our siblings, and we just loved them and loved us back. And Lisa was just amazed about that. And she came home to her husband and she's like, hey, I found there are two teenage boys who are calling me mom, and I would love to bring them home. So fast forward, we were adopted by Lisa, by Lisa, and then eventually through my mom, Lisa, her other friends heard about us and our story, and her friends decided to adopt the rest of the boys in the choir.
So
And
the
keep
whole
in mind, it was
choir.
12 boys in this choir.
And
So
were you
all
all, so were you all in the same town then in
Yeah,
North
in
North
Charlotte.
Carolina?
in
Yeah, we are
Charlotte.
all from Charlotte, North Carolina. So a community in Charlotte adopted, a church adopted all 12 of us in this
Because of
area.
this one Girl Scout, your sister Ashley, wanting to go see the choir from Liberia because she chose this
Hmm.
Girl Scout project. That's kind of,
Yeah. Yeah.
gosh, what's
Um,
yeah.
so and then you stayed in the family and you stayed in touch with the boys. Did you continue the choir?
Yeah, we continued the choir singing here and there, but that concert actually was our last concert of the trip because our visas were expiring.
Oh,
And we had to go back home as well. Like the following, I think, month or two, we had to go back, So, but at the same time, we couldn't go back home because there was like another war has already started again. And our Pastor Kofi sat us down. He was like, boys, I got some bad news. I can't take you guys back to Liberia right now. And we're like, why not? We want to go back home. And he was like, well, another war just started. And if I took you back right now, each of us, all of us would be assassinated at the airport. We would be killed, point blank, no questions asked. So, and he told us that, and that broke our heart, and we that night, we just worship and sing like our guts out to God, and just crying out to God to help our country, to help us out, to make sure that we don't end up in that position, and
He
through
was
that.
probably stressed, like what he was going to do with you guys too.
Yeah, he was extremely stressed. I mean, being responsible for, I mean, keep in mind, like there are 500 children that he is responsible for in Liberia already,
He's got
past
12
COVID,
of you in
and then 12 of
America.
us here. And then he runs a ministry on top of that.
But were you adopted? Were the adoptive parents able to help out with this whole situation?
Yes, absolutely. So like,
Okay.
yeah, my adopted mom and dad and family helped out, like I said, with adopting me and my brother, first place, and then encouraging their friends to also look into that, and her friends decided to adopt all of us, you know, and we were able to live in Charlotte and not have to go back to Liberia based on that blessing that God, orchestrated through my little sister and my mom, and for giving us an opportunity to be
It's amazing.
having a second chance at life.
What happened to Pastor Covey? Did he have to go back or?
No, Pastor Kofi has gone back and forth to Liberia. So he lives in Liberia and lives in Lancaster, South Carolina, right next door to us.
Mhm.
So we tend to see him quite often. But he is pretty elderly now. So, but he still runs a ministry, and still have the orphanages. He runs in Liberia. And yeah, I'm pretty close with him and his family, up to this day.
So how long did you stay? Like you were at this point 15. So how long did you live in the home with your adoptive
Mhm.
family? How did you get to Nashville? And then probably the most important question, have you been able to track down your family in
Right.
Liberia?
That's
Yeah,
right.
so well, I was 15 and a half when I got adopted, and so education was a huge problem because, coming to America at the age of 15 years old, and my parents tried to homeschool us to school, take us to school. Um, I tested at a kindergarten level education at age 15 and a half.
Yeah.
So I had to start over. Everything was new. Everything was difficult, but through perseverance and faith and people who believed in me, I worked extremely hard to went on to be the first in my bloodline to go to college and graduate college,
Good for you.
to
Yeah.
do that. So, but what's your other question you asked?
Well, then how long? So you went to college and you
Yeah.
got your degree and everything.
Yeah.
Very impressive. And did you stay with your family? Obviously, you're in Nashville now. So how did that come
Yeah. How
about?
did, yeah.
And where did you find your original family in Liberia?
Yeah, I mean, I stay with my family now for as long as possible. From the age of 15 until I graduated high school, and then even went on to leadership school with Chick-fil-A University Corporate, and then I went to college for 4 years and came back home. And after I graduated, I came back home, and then came back to Tennessee and worked for a little bit, and went back to Charlotte, worked for a little bit again with my dad at Chick-fil-A. Um, and then we went through the season, my wife and I, and then I got married. And
Okay.
then we got married, my wife and I, and we longed to have a family of our own. And for 6.5 years, we went through infertility,
Okay.
IVF treatments, and just have failed trial after failed trial and disappointment after disappointment, all of that. But fast forward, God bless us to where we have twins now. So we got two beautiful twins, a boy and girl, legend in
Oh,
London. Uh,
oh, beautiful names.
thank you. And so when we had them, we were new parents. So we had no idea how to raise kids, you know. And Amanda is from Tennessee. She grew up here in Tennessee. and her family lives here. So
Okay.
yeah, they offer us, say, hey, you guys come over here. We'll give you some hand with the kids, give you a head start really with the kids. And, so we chose that. We said, all right, said less. I got a U-Haul, pack up the whole entire house, and we loaded everything up and grabbed the babies, and we came straight to Tennessee, you know, and
And have the grandparents helping.
yes. So the grandparents has been helping us through that process, and that's kind of how we ended up in Tennessee. Not because we want to come here, but we came here because the support was available for us to have with the kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
so did you wonder about your family in Liberia
I'm
and
guessing you haven't been back. You haven't been
Yeah.
able to go back to Liberia, no, or look for anybody.
Yeah. So I've been back a few times
Oh, you
actually.
have.
Yeah. So prior to that, I went back in college. When I was in college, I went back and I was able to connect with my older brother. I met him when I was in college. So, and I was so shocked and felt like I was on cloud 9, 10 plus 20, just to see my brother,
Yeah.
because I haven't seen him since we were just little boys, like 7, 8 years old kids, and I'm in my 20s now and I'm seeing him for the first time after that.
And he was your brother that was in the village with you the first night of the attack.
Yeah, my brother
Okay.
Jerry.
Did he know
So
what happened to other people in your family?
everyone just got displaced, and my father actually was in prison for a long time, and they were just killing people left and right. Like to call you out and say, "Hey, if they liked you, they'd be like, okay, you're going to heaven. If they don't like you, you're going to hell." So, which means like they had two lines, one going to heaven, one going to hell. So, if in the hell line, they're killing you. If in the heaven line, you know, they do the thing. So, and my dad was one of those lines, and somebody who spotted him, who knew who he was, so they were like, I know that guy, and that guy remembered my dad from the past about how his family was going through a hard time, and my dad was there to help him and his family. So he saw my dad, and he became a rebel and a leader in the group. And he saw my dad, recognized my dad. Instead of killing my dad, he got my dad to jail, and then got a truck and sent his men to send my dad somewhere else. That was safer. So my dad never got killed, luckily.
Yeah.
So I found out my brother, like my dad survived the war. So, which is great. And I later found out too that my biological mom, I just found out recently actually that she made it as well.
oh,
She did.
so have you seen her yet?
Yep, I've seen her. Um I went back and saw her, and when I looked at her, she looked at me. It was like she saw a ghost. She was just staring at me like I was a stranger. She was like, "Who are you?" Because she remembered me as a little, like a
Yeah.
little kid, a little baby boy. And now I'm like, I got facial hair now. And she's like, "Who is this guy?" You know. So, but
Yeah.
she was just so shocked, and she would barely even touch me, because she was just stunned and can't believe it.
And
That
trauma and lots of
yeah.
trauma losing her kids like that.
Yeah, and it just hit her different. And for me too, I was telling her stories about, memories of things she and I shared growing up, and she was like still not responding. She would just be looking at me and looking at the ground and just like looking left, looking right, looking at the ground, and just couldn't believe it you know. But yep, I went back and actually, I'm in the process of building her home in the village. The home that
Hmm.
burst into flame. I've had the work done for a few years now to rebuild it into like an actual home, like an actual civilized house,
House.
like a house. So it's a long process, but I'm close to finishing that project right now to where she can have her own home and just call it an actual house, and everyone lives there peacefully.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
what an
Awesome.
incredible story, Jackson. This is really, how old are your twins now?
They are 2 years old.
Oh.
You're busy.
Now, will your biological mother meet them? They are her grandchildren.
Oh yeah, that's the goal. My goal is for them to get a little older and to understand. So, if I take them back, they can be, I can explain to them what's happening, and they can
Yes.
actually understand the fullness of it all than just taking them back when they're so small and don't understand. Because I want them to know, where their dad came from and
Yeah, of course.
who is this person and how I end up here. And I also wrote my book as well for them to have. So when I'm
That's
gone one day, they can
wonderful.
refer back to my life and see where the father came from, and they can have that as a guide for them.
And you're close to your adopted family still, I'm assuming, very
Oh
close to
yeah,
them.
absolutely. Yeah, we are. We're still close.
They're neat people. They are neat people, what they did with
Oh
all
my
those
God.
boys. Hmm.
Yeah. So that's one of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my lifetime. Um, I never thought I would be adopted. I never thought that I would have a family or I would ever, find safety, find, anyone to love me or have a family of my own, you know.
Yeah.
I just operated out of a place of fear and anxiety and depression and
Survival.
Yeah.
survival and identity struggles, you know.
I
I
have a
just have
question. I have a
yeah.
question. Do those things pop like do you have a lot of PTSD from all this and have you had therapy and things like that?
Yeah, so when I first came here, I tell everybody that yes, I was adopted into a great family that loves me, care about me, and wants the best for me. But being adopted did not erase all the trauma that I
Right.
experienced and lived through,
Of course.
So I had to do some work, on my part to help me to overcome some of those things. And what my parents did was, got us into a community that can pour into us, where we went to youth group and, we went to missions trips, things like that, and got me a first job at Chick-fil-A, learning how to talk to people and learning how to serve other people, and
Hmm.
taking the focus off of myself and helping other people. And that helped a lot, to where I don't dwell so much in my pain and trauma and life experiences that I forget how to love and serve, right?
Hmm.
So, and then throughout a year, my parents put us through therapy as well. So we're going through therapists and talking to therapists, and even after high school and college, I still went to therapy as well. And I still go to therapy right now, still. You
That's
know,
great.
yeah, I'm not
Yes.
perfect. I'm not 100% healed yet from anything, but it's all about taking action.
Yeah.
To taking the steps to walk in the right direction.
Of course. I mean, you've been through so much.
I have.
It's you really have, and you're raising kids now, and you must be, you're looking at them like, how could little kids go through this, right? It's just because
Hmm.
you probably just want to protect them at every minute, I'm sure. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
gosh,
Jackson, what a
Jackson,
story. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. It's really been enlightening,
it
and
has
um, I
touching.
really appreciate you telling us and sharing with us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me, and it's been an honor. And my goal of this is just to share my testimony, because I believe that God gave us all stories, and not just to carry, but to share.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
absolutely believe in getting stories out there for posterity and
Mhm.
archival purposes. And so
Yeah, for
thank
sure.
you. It's very important, and you will touch many people. I'm
You
certain of it.
will. You
Thank
definitely
you.
will.
And then get a copy of my book on Amazon. The
Oh,
Yes.
Unfulfilled Board
definitely.
is
We,
back, and the full story of everything I explained is in there, and even more
yes, I'm
Ooh,
sure.
in
we'll
there. So
definitely
take
get
a look at it.
ourselves a copy and we
And
will
we'll
put it
put
in
the
our show
links.
notes.
Yep. Yep.
Beautiful. Thank
Thank you,
y'all.
Jackson.
A
Thank
pleasure.
you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.